This Talend Data Mapper tutorial covers map refactoring. Okay, now we're going to show how to refactor maps when the underlying structure changes. So for this example, we're going to work with a change between we're going to do this in the context of EDI, and in particular X12 HIPAA EDI, the United States healthcare mandated EDI. And we're going to look at it going from version 4010 to the currently required version 5010. So, and we're going to use the examples, I've made a copy of the example project that comes with the 4010 and 5010, the EDI projects. So we're going to show it on both sides of the map. We're going to show EDI as output and EDI as input and what the changes look like. So here's a simple example of a map that goes to an EDI transaction. So this map takes an XML structure, a very simple XML structure, which is a request for benefits coverage to see if someone's covered for healthcare, and it maps it to EDI. So we do a show document, that's what the XML looks like, and if we run the map, we can see this is what the EDI looks like. So now what we're going to do is upgrade this to version 5010. So what we are using, if we look at the EDI structure here, if I click here, I go into the structure editor, we're actually using a custom structure here that is defined in this example project, and because this is the way that we do it is we use a custom structure which inherits from the correct standard structure. So if we notice the root of this custom structure here, we have a link to show that it inherits from this structure which is defined in the standards project called X124010 HIPAA. So what we're going to do, since we're going to do a version migration, is we're going to change this to import from the 5010 version. So we will go to editable mode and change where we inherit from. So currently we're inheriting from the X124010 HIPAA, and what we want to do is we want to inherit from X125010 HIPAA. Go into transactions, and this is a 270 B1 HL-ENV. Notice that it got changed to B1 for some reason, but it's the 270 with the HL support and EDI envelopes, which I'll cover the meaning of those terms in the EDI tutorial. So we'll switch over to that. So now this structure is set to inherit from the new version, and we'll see that it looks a bit, that it's now changed and it looks a bit different. So now we save this and we go look at the map. Now, and then what it does is it will, because the structure has been saved and changes underneath the map, it's going to revalidate the map, and it's going to point out the issues. And there's a lot of issues. It looks like 1,199 warnings. So let's see what's going on here. So it looks like what happened is the transaction element here that's under the loop.js and everything below it is now invalid. So those are no longer appearing in the structure. However, there's a new element called loop.st, and if we expand that, there's a new transaction element here. So it looks like what happened was a new level of looping got added between version 4010 and 5010. So what we want to do, but beyond that, the mapping, the structure underneath that looping is probably identical. So we can go in here and look at it, and it's not quite identical, but it's pretty close. And I think it has what we, for the things that are mapped, it has what we need. So we can copy and paste all the mapping instructions from the old to the new in one click to do the map refactoring. So when things get if you want a whole block of mapping expressions to be moved and matched up by name, then you can use copy paste to do that. So we'll copy from the old and we'll paste it on the corresponding spot in the new one. And see, we paste expressions here, which is paste the mappings. And so now it's pasting the expressions. And now we can get rid of the old elements because they're no longer, we've copied the mapping information from them. And we can indicate that the new elements are no longer new, so we can remove those indications so that we'll no longer get warnings if we open this map. So now let's run the map and see what we have. So we're getting less EDI, and it looks like we're getting only the outer segments, and we're not getting any of the real data. So let's see what's going on here. So it's giving us a warning. It's saying that there's an element that loops that doesn't have a loop expression. So it's assuming that the only thing it can do is just not loop at all, not do anything. So let's see where this element is. So this is this ST element, and this loop ST was a newly added element in the structure, and in fact it does not have a loop for it. So what we want to do in this case, we only want it to appear once. So as the error message suggests, we can just use a fixed loop function to do that. So we need to show our functions view here. It would normally appear. I'm not sure why it went away. And we'll go into looping, and we'll say fixed loop. Drag that there, and it assumes with the fixed loop we want one time. So now let's run the map again, and we see that we get the EDI that we want, which is similar to what we had last time, and that there's no more warnings. So here we've refactored, we've done a version upgrade, and we copied an entire block of all the mapping instructions from one to the other to refactor the map, and now we're on the new version. So now I'm going to show it how it works on the input side, because that's slightly different. So we'll go back to the Project Explorer and we'll open the other side of the map, which is takes EDI as input and produces XML. Note that it's reading these structures. It's actually probably reading hundreds of structures here and validating them as you open it, because the EDI, these EDI transactions are very large and consist of hundreds of structures. So here we have input EDI. We do a show document. This is what the EDI looks like, and then it's mapped to this same simple XML structure. So if we run this, we can see the XML. So now let's do the same process of upgrading it. So we'll click on the structure editor for the custom structure, change it to editable, and find the 5010 version of this, which is a 271. B1 HLENV. Wait for it to process the inheritance change. Be nice if it showed a little progress monitor there. Nevertheless, we can see that the loop ST in the transaction, so everything's all there. Okay, so we'll save this, and we'll go look at the map, and now it's validating the map, and again giving us many warnings, because the same thing happened here. The old transaction has moved. So it used to be that the transaction level was underneath the loop GS. We've now added a level of looping. So now what we want to do is we actually want to change the output. We want to change the mapping in the output to point to new places in the input. And there's a way to do that that's very simple. So if you click on the input, if you right click on the input here, you can say move expression references. So this moves any expressions that reference anything underneath this element. So we want to move expression references from this element, and we say select the map element to be referenced instead. So everything referencing at this point, we want to change it to reference at this point. So we do that, and notice how this has become bold. So it's shown that there's that they're now mapped. And now we will again we'll delete the invalid map elements. We will remove the new element indications. We'll run the map. And now we're again having a problem. The reference map element loops, but there's nothing that specifies how to handle the loop. So we have something that points to this something. If we scroll down here, we can see which element is referencing it. So this sender ID here is referencing something inside of this ST loop, but there's nothing that tells it how to deal with this ST loop in the enclosing loop. So the enclosing loop here, we just go up until we find a loop. The enclosing loop looks like it's a loop for over the ISA and over the GS, but then there's nothing that is showing it how to deal with the ST loop. So we just have to add another nested context here to deal with that. So you can always copy stuff and paste stuff from the expression tree. So we can copy this here, and we can paste another nested context, and then instead of referencing the GS, we want to delete that, and we want to reference the ST loop. Okay, and so we'll save this, and now we'll run the map, and it's producing the XML that we expect, and there's no warning. So this showed you how to refactor a map when there was changes in the input structure in terms of using the moving expression references. That's the end of this tutorial.